This is the Education Business Podcast for consultants and business owners providing services in schools. I'm Claire Riley, and I'll be sharing how to start, grow and scale your education business. So today's episode might be uncomfortable to listen to, and it's what our managing director at Classroom Secrets, Bev, calls squidgy bum conversations. And what that means is it's hard to hear sometimes, or it's hard to say, but it's important to say so that everyone can move forward. And we're going to be talking about the fear of what we don't know. And the reason why I want to bring this today is because I've witnessed so much of it recently, and equally so little of it at the same time. Just let me explain. So you may or may not know that Ed and I have been 2-to-1 voice mentoring 10 clients recently to help them grow their businesses. And how it works is that the three of us, Ed, myself, and the entrepreneur, or sometimes four of us if they're co-founders, we have this ongoing conversation through voice messages about the challenges and wins and things going on in their businesses. And it is a scary thing to open yourself up to, if I'm honest. To know that someone else might be able to see where you might be going wrong or where you need to develop. And I want to talk about the word wrong because that's really the word that the entrepreneur would use, but not necessarily the mentor, because it's not wrong, is it really? We can use those words in our minds, but it's just a journey. And Ed and I only know how to fix these issues or how to improve things because we've been there, we've felt that, and we've done it before. So as I've looked then at our offering and looked to expand our offering in voice mentoring, I've really been hit with this collective sense of that people are feeling fear around what they don't know. And I'm sensing a resistance to finding out what they don't know. Not the clients that we're mentoring. That's where we see the opposite. They're learning from us for a reason because they understand the true value of it. But I wanted to unpack this theme that I felt like I was observing. I wanted to explore this a bit more because I know, my huge value to you is the fact that I've walked the path that you're walking now. I understand the struggles that you're facing, and there have been times when I've overcome them to find myself bigger problems that I'm now working through and I will teach you about in the future. But I began looking back really, desperate to understand this because, as a person, I like to understand the world. I like to understand myself and how I fit in the world. So I began looking back to see if I was ever afraid of what I didn't know and how that showed up for me. And there were times, and perhaps you will recognise these as I tell you. This could surprise you, but I was scared of mentorship in particular, and which is hilarious, I know, because I now offer it and I want to help you with mentoring. But I was scared of it. In fact, I was so scared of it that when I eventually did join a mastermind rather than a 1-to-1 or 2-to-1 mentorship, it was actually beneath the level that I was working at. And a lot of what was shared in that mastermind, I'd already done. And this came from a place of me feeling that you might relate to, me feeling that I needed to work it all out on my own, and then I could have the confidence to join the masterminds or get the mentoring when I was already successful. It's a bit like that with money sometimes, isn't it? Oh, well, I'll invest money when I have that £1 million rather than doing it along the way to help you get there. And this is exactly the same thing. It's, we can feel, can't we? Oh, well, I'll figure it all out on my own and I'll make it really hard for myself and I won't tell anyone about it and I won't get any advice, and then one day I'll be just like them. And it doesn't work like that already. Maybe you feel the same. But it can't possibly work like that. It really slows the process down and it just makes it 100 times harder. So what resulted in that for me? Well, I slowed the process down of growth for a start. hugely as well, hugely. But what resulted is that I figured out a ton of stuff on my own, which, yeah, I'm grateful for. Yay, go me, I figured it out. But actually, if I could advise my former self, I would tell myself to get mentors, and I'd open myself up to being challenged so that I could have moved forward much faster. And that's what I do now. Even with Education Business Club, yeah, I've started businesses before. Yeah, I know how to reach an audience, but that doesn't mean to say that I'm not learning about that more than I ever did before. So, if you look at some of the world's most successful people, and particularly the ones that talk about success as well, they always mention the people that they learned from and rubbed shoulders with who were further ahead of them. Just because somebody knows more than you, it doesn't mean that that relationship won't be supportive. So Ed and I are on a mastermind now where the mentors, they help you scale to 8 figures. They've exited companies over and over for millions and in some cases billions of pounds. So talk about feeling out of your depth with them. But even in a group of people where they've already achieved a lot of success, you've got to have achieved a certain level of success to be in that group, obviously. You know, they definitely know a thing about about business, but still no question is a silly question. And it's always met with kindness from other members and the mentors. And there's no, you should already know this kind of vibe. And I was really thinking about this vibe that you get. I suppose in some ways when we think we're scared of what we don't know or somebody pointing out something we don't know, we're scared that people will have that reaction of, do you not already know this? And I do have a family member who I've had that vibe from in the past. It feels like a very kind of child adult kind of thing going on. But I was thinking about it, and you know, that vibe, it actually doesn't come from people who know lots. So what am I trying to say? What I've learned is that that kind of feeling doesn't come from places like the mastermind. It comes from people who don't know. People who need to bring you down and make you feel small for their own benefit. They might not realize that's why they're doing it, but that is why they're doing it. So they're doing it so you don't outgrow them, so you don't make them feel bad about themselves. And I'm sure you've experienced that as well. You might have a well-meaning friend who tells you to quit while you're ahead because they don't have any understanding of what you're trying to achieve. And they really do believe that they're doing you a favor. Like, they're being really honest with you and saying, do you know what, that maybe you just need to quit while you're ahead if you haven't found success in the first 3 months or whatever. But they're worried that you might learn something more than them. You might grow the potential to do something better. They just don't realize why they feel that they have to do that. So successful people who are paving the way for others to follow them, true leaders, they don't act that way. They just hold out a hand and they help you up. So as I've grown as an entrepreneur, I've really grown as a person. And one of the most significant ways this has presented itself is by my mind being opened to what I don't know. And my confidence to be okay with that and just ask good questions instead. And accept the answers, even if the answers overschool you. Maybe you already know some of it. And so I guess my biggest fear back then was being found out. That if I talked to a more successful business person, that they'd work out that I was winging it and that there were things I didn't have in place, but I should. And it's funny because when we joined this current mastermind that we're on, I had those feelings all over again. And I even mentioned it to one of the mentors, and they kind of said, look, you know, this is normal and work on your personal development, basically. And so we can move through these things and it is normal. You know, they've seen it all before. It's normal to them. It's how we grow businesses. And I'm obviously on the other side of that as well. And I can tell you that nothing that a mentee has ever said has shocked me, surprised me, or been something that I couldn't relate to in some way. Everything that he said is normal. It's all part of the journey. It's how we grow businesses. So if you're listening, if you're still listening, thanks. But I am aware that you might find yourself being triggered by this conversation. And that's a really good place to start looking at this, because if you're being triggered, then you know there's something inside that is worth looking at. Are you holding back from getting advice or investing in mentoring that could help you get to where you want to go faster because you're worried about either the growth you'll need to commit to, or the accountability it's going to bring, or the discomfort you'll feel during the process? Because it is uncomfortable to grow and change. But what are the benefits of staying as you are? And what are the benefits of getting direct support and advice? So if you're feeling that you're afraid of what you don't know, or you're afraid that others will discover what you don't know, then I think these thoughts should help you. So firstly, those who are experienced or more experienced than you already know that you don't know what you don't know. They've been there and they can tell from what you say. You know, they remember when they were at that point in the business. So by not engaging in learning, you're not hiding it as you might think. I told you that this was a squidgy bum conversation, didn't I? You probably didn't want to know that. But, you know, from my personal perspective, I can tell. I think, oh, yeah, I remember thinking that, but I don't think that now. I think that a lot. But you shouldn't need to try to hide anything, because it's not a failure. It's not a bad thing to be further behind in the journey. The important thing is that you move forward. To not yet know is okay. So change your mindset around what not knowing means, because it's not shameful. It's just being on a journey and being open to learning. Secondly, make where you want to go the priority, rather than what others think or how much you think you know already. And this is why I bang on about personal development so much, because we're ingrained into really worrying about what people think. And so you have to be working on that. You have to be working on how the brain works. You have to learn about it. You have to learn to manage your emotions. And all of that has to be happening alongside your business journey, because it makes you into the kind of person who can grow business, who has those capabilities. So by making where you want to go a priority, you'll be able to make the right choices for your business, including making the right connections, learning from the right people, investing in the right learning and mentorship to take you forward, even when that feels uncomfortable, even when it feels above where you are, even when you're thinking, oh, I just want to figure it out all by myself and not have anyone say anything to me and not feel judged, because that judgment's coming from inside you anyway, not that other person generally. But it will allow you to open yourself up and say, do you know what? It is okay to have help here. It's fine. So I want to leave you with that challenge this week, and it might have been a difficult listen. I get that. Will the way you've been doing things get you to where you want to be? Are you learning from the right people? Are you learning enough from the right people? Is it enough to just listen to someone's podcast? Or do you need to invest in your learning with them and learn more? Do you need to change your mindset around what you don't know and the people who are ahead of you in business as well, and what they think about you? Huge, huge questions to think about this week. So what I want to say is thank you so much for listening if you got to the end, and good luck with just reassessing what it is you want to do in your business and how you're going to get there. Thank you for listening to the Education Business Podcast. To get more information to grow your business, sign up at educationbusinessclub.co.uk.